talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think you worked on the holiday special from what I saw on IMDb, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, we shot the holiday special parallel with the actual film. So there was obviously some actor scheduling. So we were a few months into filming Guardians and then had to do some reset on our sets for the holiday special. And so that shot, there was some stuff in LA that was shot as well. So my set was Nowhere. So that is the disembodied celestial head that we've seen before. But this time, not only did we have everything that happens in Volume 3, but we also had the lovely Christmas special. So you are correct.
Got it. And tell me I mean, you didn't work on the first two, right? But having to keep that in mind, but also bringing some original stuff from your DNA into it, what was the process of that like? Like, where did the inspirations come from, if any? How did you go about doing the work? And you can speak that in general context of your work in general, like what inspires you, what motivates you in the context of the Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Oh, wow. Yes. So as an art department, we have a team of people, I would say an army of people who all are bringing something creative to the table. And so when I came on, I had seen Volume 1 and 2, but I'll be completely honest, I didn't know it as in depth or as well as, say, something like Spider-Man, which I loved and grew up with and then got to work on. But so for me, it was kind of fresh and new. And when I stepped on board Volume 3, there was already some concept art that our concept illustrators had done. And there was some 3D models that had already been developed, kind of some big blocking, massing models, where certain pieces were on stage. And so when I came in, there was this massing idea of where things were. And then what I helped do is really tailor and guide the aesthetic through completion to shoot. For me, I came in going, oh my gosh, this is not my rhetoric. I have no idea. I don't know this world. So what I spent a lot of time doing at first was rewatched all the films. We also got the hard drive from the original films, and I dug into every single photo, every little detail, all the drawings that was done on Nowhere from Volume 1 from the incredible designer Charles Wood, who has worked on many of the Marvel films, including Avengers Infinity War, which they had also done a section of Nowhere spaceport there. Thankfully, one of our art directors, David Scott, our supervising art director, it was Beth Mickle, our designer, Alan Hook, and David Scott were, Alan and Dave were the supervising art directors. And Dave had been the art director for the Nowhere spaceport in Infinity War. So it was very helpful for him to be able to tell me, oh, that grading, we used this kind of grading, or this material, we used that. And so it really helped open my brain to how can I use real world materials, paint them, cut them up, put some light behind it. And when you put it on a wall, it looks like space stuff. So there was that, and there's so much. I think the major things for me were those images, working with our set designers and developing this world. We started to call it space deco because we were like, what is this aesthetic? It's not Star Wars. It's not Captain America. It's not, like, we were trying to figure out what it was called. And so because we had so many different locations, the armory, the bar, the apartments, each place had its own aesthetic. And if you go back and rewatch or pay attention, each of those buildings have a very specific kind of style and color. And there's a lot in there. Every little detail was not overlooked. The colors are very specific. For me, I started out with looking at video games. Honestly, I didn't really know where to start. Beth, our incredible designer, she let me play in this world. And so I really started looking at video games and what are their color palettes, because it's fun, right? Quill is a video game kind of guy. And so like, I thought, well, it'd be fun if his color was like Donkey Kong, you know, like his room. And so that was really fun to develop that. So not only that, but there were other things we looked at, like we all went as an art department down to Star Wars Land in Disney World. For us, it's also helped us with dressing. So our incredible decorator, Rosemary Brandenburg, had an incredible team of people. So all of the things that you see on screen that are in front of the wall, and all of the cables and all of those Christmas lights, that's all her and her team. The tools on Rocket's shelf, his bedding, the shelving that has everything is labeled in the font of nowhere. All of that stuff comes from, I would say, just a compendium of hours and weeks of research between Star Wars Land. I looked at something like Warhammer 40,000, but also looking at degraded, abandoned factories, what Charles Wood did, and what existed before. And then the comics. I have to say, like, I had pages from the comics of what Nowhere looked like on my wall, so that if there was any doubt of like, what should I do about this detail in the door, or how can I communicate something that's a bit of an Easter egg, I would be looking at the comics, and that would help inform my decision. So, long way of saying that it is just a giant bag of tricks. And
Sure.
I am so grateful for my team who brought their own bag of tricks. So if I was ever struggling with something, or if I didn't have as much of a guide, they would say, oh, I've used this before. I have this thing, or what do you think of this? And I'd be like, brilliant, let's do that. Yes. So yeah, so it's also a team effort.